Hi there and welcome to Capital View. The last month has perhaps been the most difficult one for the Modi government in the last year. Now, as the government heads into a crucial monsoon session in Parliament, what should the Prime Minister do to control the damage that has been done? Joining me on this episode of Capital View, former General Secretary of the BJP, former ideologue of the RSS and leader of the Swadeshi Andolan, Govindacharya. Thank you very much indeed for being with us. You've been a critic of this government. If you were in Mr. Modi's shoes, how would you deal with the situation that has arisen with Ms. Sushma Swaraj and Ms. Vasundhara Raje? What would you do in this situation?
I am confident that the present government has got good intentions. I don't doubt the intentions. I only question the priorities. And this context also, in the issue of morality and ethics, should have more priority than treating politics merely as a crass power game.
But the feeling is that why should ministers resign just because of opposition and media pressure? Do you feel that they should resign?
It should have been spontaneous on their own initiative. That would have been the best in the interest of the party and also of the society. Just like Advani ji has offered his own resignation on his own, despite being dissuaded by people like Atal ji too. If morality and ethics, they are not the cornerstone of politics, then politics ends up merely as a power game, and in which only legalities and technicalities will rule the roost. And people of Bharat, they are driven by ethics and morality more than by legalities and technicalities. Therefore, because of all this delay, impression has gone far into the deep villages too, because with a lot of expectation, this government has come into power. For the first time in independence history of India, a non-Congress person as Prime Minister, a non-Congress party on its own full majority has been seated into power. So people expect them to be radically different, and especially when during the campaign, zero tolerance was much publicized.
So is the party demoralized? Do you think people are demoralized that they are not doing the right thing?
Many people, including MPs, MLAs, or other important office bearers of the party, they occasionally meet me also on the streets also we meet. We find that yes, the cadre is demoralized. Cadre is not able to convince the people, be it land acquisition, be it probity in public life.
Rajnath Singh, the Home Minister, said recently that this is not the UPA government, this is the NDA government.
I don't know.
And we don't resign just because of media and opposition. How do you react to that statement?
So that's what. I don't know whether he wanted to screw up the government or whether he wanted genuinely whatever he said. I don't know. He is politically quite mature person. So it was just a miss, I think. He shouldn't have spoken all that.
A mistake.
Instant, yes, mistake. I think he should have adhered to the moral bindings, which unnecessarily, which was uncalled for. Whether UPA people resign or not, it is not the country. What we promised, that should have been his concern. And that when he says that, yes, NDA people will not resign, people will not take it kindly.
Do you believe that this whole claim of being a party with a difference, does that change when you come into power? When you come into power, does it become difficult to be a party with a difference?
That way though I was naive, I can admit that, because one of the tall leaders of the party had told me once in late 99 or so, when we were established in power, he had said that, Govindaji, don't tom much about party with a difference. I said, why? Because BJP can be at best Congress with a saffron tinge.
So power in a sense does corrupt. It can corrupt any kind of party.
Yes, it is the inherent natural trait, or we may say weakness, handicap of the instrument of power.
You talk about the faith that people voted with, but Narendra Modi himself, after 1 year, after so many years in public life, there's no corruption taint on him personally. Is that a big achievement according to you? Is that a good achievement? Is that a great achievement?
No, it is a good part of the whole functioning of the party. This one has to appreciate and admire. And really I feel that his intentions also are there. I don't consider him as any kind of selfish person motivated by only merely political power. No, he is a person who has to be admired for his convictions, and his only motive can be to serve the people.
But the government, the perception of the government, the fact that he said that there has been no single corruption taint against my government, he said that when 1 year was completed. Do you believe that this 1 month has changed all that?
It has definitely affected a serious dent in the credibility and image of the government. And in that, silence of PM up to this juncture. Till now, I also have a feeling that yes, he must be contemplating over the matter. He should not indulge in act in haste and repent in leisure. But people expect a lot from him. Firm action with convictions, in which probity in public life and morality and ethics, they gain supremacy.
To believe he should speak, he should tell the people.
He should, if he doesn't speak, no problem, he should act. People should see that yes, something is being done. Not that he is speaking or not, that is immaterial. Instead, if he is not speaking, it is good, but it should be followed with action.
As a lifelong association with the Sangh Parivar that you had, Mr. Modi today is highly powerful. This is a very centralized government. The Sangh has always believed in collective leadership. It hasn't believed in what is known as Vyakti Puja or one-man show. Do you believe that this kind of centralization of authority is changing relationships even within the Sangh Parivar?
I don't know at the first hand, but downward level cadre, they definitely feel that there is a lack of participation in the decision making, because many MPs also met me. They also are complaining that they are not getting audience. Even if they get the audience, they get the sermons, the dialogue is absent, monologue is there. So some MPs told that they think that it's not democracy, it is turning into monocracy. There is no place where they can share their views. There is nobody to listen to. All these things, murmurings are there. It can be rectified, it should be rectified.
It should be rectified.
Yeah, it should be.
What needs to happen?
For example, some frequency of meetings should be increased. And in that, not monologue, but dialogue. Third, atmosphere has to be free, in which each can give his suggestions or her suggestions freely without any kind of fear that whether this will jeopardize my career.
Is there fear within the party now?
Some of them express that. Why should I speak? I don't know what will happen to me. Big people should speak out. They are not speaking out. So it is better to keep mum, because the fate will be shared by all, not only by me. So why should I take the onus? All these things are talked.
Just to come back to the personality cult that we have today, do you believe the voting process is encouraging it? Because people are voting for personalities, for faces, for individuals.
Depends.
So the notion of collective leadership is being destroyed perhaps by the way elections are being held.
It depends. It depends in which role of money power is crucial. And for that, election commission has to be empowered. And I have seen in the political history of Bharat, in 70s also, when Indira ji was so dominant, she also advocated for a national government or presidential form of government. There was a time when during Atalji's time also these talks started. It happens, but people of Bharat, they are driven by A, morality, B, welfare of all, C, ecocentric development, not anthropocentric development.
Ecocentric development, not anthropocentric development.
That's what the people of Bharat are tuned and trained psychologically since millennia.
Right. You mentioned Mrs. Gandhi. Do you think that Mr. Modi compares to Mrs. Gandhi, that her rise destroyed the party organization to some extent? Do you believe the rise of Mr. Modi, the rise of Mr. Modi will destroy the organization of the BJP?
Modi ji also has been very active before the emergency days itself as Sangha Pracharak. So he must be understanding as to what are the unhealthy tendencies which Indira ji exhibited in her functioning. She must have learned the things also, I don't know, learned the lessons from that.
He has learned the lessons from
He should
that.
have. That's what I believe.
But do you think he can become another Indira Gandhi?
I don't think, because times have so changed radically. People are so informed, proliferation and power of media, and now election commission also may be proactive. All these things, they cancel the possibilities, if any, and I don't see that Sri Narendra Modi ji will harbor any such ambition, because he also feels that for nation first, democracy is needed, and democracy prevails. That also he knows from the lessons of the history.
Let's come now to the economy. The economic goals of this government are Make in India and making India safe for business, ease of doing business. Do you approve of these two goals, Make in India and ease of doing business?
Made for India and made by India also should be clubbed along with Make in India. Otherwise, giving all the facilities, all the concessions, all the tax holidays, and making resources available free or cheap, that won't make the country strong enough for its own. And we should be able to bargain our market power, which is being used by others and not by us. Instead of that, some priorities also are needed. For example, skill development. It has got a beating. Nothing much is to be. If it is not commensurate with Make in India, this will result in reaping huge profits by the corporate sector, Indian or foreign.
What about laws like the land acquisition bill? Now that's the government is trying to push that. Don't you believe that such laws are necessary to create industry and to create growth?
Totally unnecessary. I don't know who advised for it, because the 2003 law should have been first experimented. On the basis of that trial for about 1 or 2 years, lessons learned from that, modifications would have been useful. Instead of that, now studies have come out that only 8.5% of the projects have suffered because of the problem of land acquisition. What about the rest? And they are talking about land acquisition. What about distribution of land? In our country, what are the priorities? Skewed priorities. Because more than 5 crores of people are not having any roof, even thatched roof upon their heads. So, how can we give them residential accommodation of 4,400 square feet for each family? That should have been the concern. That concern is not seen. So much land was acquired 20 years back, since 20 years. What happened to those lands? What happened to the spare land of the SEZ? And you are just changing the phrase company to entity. You are ignoring the total requirement of impact analysis, social impact. An agreement of the Grama Sabhas has been thrown into the wind. Collectors have been made supremo. And in our Indian conditions, how many people are able to approach the collector for the simple remedies? They are not able to even talk to the collector. And now you expect the people to go against the collector and seek permission. It's not possible.
But the government argues that the 2013 Act was anti-industry. That you could not have acquired land under that law. And you need to acquire land for industry.
Where is the paucity of land? What about the spare land in the SEZ? That should be used.
So this government is going against the common man.
I feel against the poor.
It's an anti-poor government.
Against the farmer and anti-nature also.
This government is anti-poor, it's anti-farmer, it's anti-nature.
That has been what has been the track record of the year. But I think that in the coming 5 years, they should understand, learn lessons, course correction may be there. Because mandate is for 5 years. So people expect a lot on this basis. For example, they are talking of smart cities. What about those 238 districts which lack drinking water and polluted water is there, contamination of fluoride and arsenic is there? What is being done for that? What about the plight of those travelers, the passengers in the trains, unreserved compartments, should the government not provide RO in those coaches, which has to be the priority? Why bullet trains? So if you look at all these things, one can safely, without any bias, conclude that yes, priorities are wrong.
Priorities of this government are wrong. Let's take a short break at this point. Come back with lots more with Govindacharya on the other side. Welcome back to Capital View. We're talking to former BJP General Secretary Govindacharya on what kind of damage control can the Prime Minister do in the wake of the Lalit Modi allegations. We were talking in the earlier segment about economic priorities of this government. But you know, if you look at joblessness, if you look at the need to create jobs, if you look at the level of unemployment, then what other option does this government have but to kickstart industry?
Again, the same thing. Each country will have different models of development. There is a fallacy in the thought process itself that mere industrial growth will trigger the type of industries, the technology needed for industries, all these aspects.
But isn't job creation a priority?
Job creations, about the job creations, everybody knows that the industrial sector has got limited option or scope for employment. FICCI, ASSOCHAM, they all say that we are here to contribute in GDP and growth. Don't expect employment from us. Indirect employment, whatever may be accrued to our industries, that you should be satisfied with. So where is the scope of employment? In that, agriculture and allied activities, they are even now the major providers of employment as well as livelihood in our country. And these planners, they are trying that 40 crores of peasants, farmers, they should be kicked away from agriculture. Where will they be transferred to? Now itself in the educational unemployed sector itself, out of every 100, at best 13 are able to get employment gainful or disguised underemployment. So if this is the situation and you are reducing the GDP percentage contribution of agriculture, you are so elated by learning that farmers don't want to be in the field of agriculture. They themselves want to surrender their lands. They are just compulsorily tilling the land because they don't have any other occupation. This should make you serious, and this is a matter of serious concern. And what course correction can be taken to make these peasants happy and more productive? Nothing is being thought of.
But what about the accusation that Swadeshi Economics, and you're a leader of the Swadeshi Andolan, is preventing India from growing, that it's preventing India from joining the global marketplace?
I'm of the other opinion. Even today, the traditional economic sector is functioning, and that is what is sustaining the Indian economy, in which family is the core entity which is surviving the Indian economy. Not this corporate sector, not this public sector, vis-a-vis employment also, vis-a-vis savings, vis-a-vis capital formation. What's the track record? 70% of the capital comes from the family savings, not from corporate savings, not from public sector savings. Where are they? So the fact of the matter is entirely different.
No, but are you anti-business?
No, why should I? Indian businessmen are far more equipped and skilled. They can conquer the world. Give them a choice. Take them in confidence.
So your fear is that the kind of growth that the government is pursuing will only benefit a handful of crony capitalists?
I feel that it will increase disparity. It will destroy the ecosystems. It will generate more unemployment. It will create, I think, profits for corporates and hope and expectation for the poor, which will be empty, empty and empty.
So any form of, just to come back to labor reform, any form of labor reform you believe is completely unacceptable?
Without taking into confidence the trade unions, just you raised the limit from 2 crores to 10 crores in the small scale sector. You are considering that just trade unions are hindrance. No. they are able to motivate the labor, and you want just to oust them. That is why automation is more preferred.
Is this going to be a fundamental fault line in the Sangh Parivar? Will economic reforms be the battle that will divide the Sangh Parivar?
I don't know. I know this much, that Swadeshi Jagran Manch, Kisan Sangha, Majdoor Sangha, Vanvasi Kalyana Ashrama, these organizations come out in opposition to land acquisition bill. What exactly will be the role of Sangha henceforth? I am not there to comprehend that. But I think that Sangha will definitely ask these organizations, since they are autonomous, self-dependent, self-sufficient, to have their way.
So this is going to be a fundamental battle between those who are preferring the corporate-led growth and those who are agitating for what you believe are people's rights.
I think fundamental fault lines will be anthropocentric development versus ecocentric development. Because those poorest of the poor, they are even now dependent on natural resources. So all such forces which are pro-people, pro-Bharat, definitely for their own survival, they have to come together.
And you will continue to agitate against this land bill?
I feel that I am duty bound to do that, because for me, Ram, Rashtra and Roti, I am inspired by these three.
Doesn't the younger India, this aspirational India, don't they want the things that Modi is promising
Definitely,
them?
definitely. Therefore, their aspirations have to be catered to, have to be fulfilled, and for that we have to be pro-Bharat and pro-poor, not pro-foreign and pro-rich.
No, but what is the core issue? Is the core issue today job creation and growth, or is it Ram Mandir, Article 370, Uniform Civil Code?
No, it is all in a way synchronized. One cannot look at it separately, because ultimately the totality of the voters has only put them into power. So it is not that they can do justice on certain counts and fail on other counts.
If you look at Mr. Narendra Modi today, is he still Neta number one? Do you see any challenger? He is Neta number one.
He has that trait in the personality, skills also. He has got enough skills also, political intelligence also.
A couple of weeks ago, the veteran leader L.K. Advani said that he doesn't rule out a possible emergency-like situation. Do you share that fear that there could be the rise of a benign dictator?
I have got a mixed feeling. The robustness of the responses of the younger generation of Bharat, who are much more informed and committed in favor of dialogue, trust, which is the basis of the democratic system. So innately they are in favor of democracy, not monocracy, and dictatorship cannot be imposed upon this country.
Govindacharya, you're as passionate and as committed as ever. Thank you so much for joining us on Capital View. That was Govindacharya. Join us again next week for lots more on Capital View.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at etnowlive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/etnow.